YouTube, what's up? Been a minute again, but we have cars to go through. We still actually have some cars from last time that we haven't got to either. But, well, we're going to look at Mini GT and Greenlight. So some stuff we've picked up over the month. And we'll get some Auto World Johnny Lightning Racing Champions M2 next time. But let's take a look at what we got this time. We're going to go through Greenlight. And a couple of recent releases. These hit the pegs probably about 4 weeks ago. They've been gone through, but I found the ones I was looking for. And actually, one was a surprise. I didn't think I'd want it. But Greenlight does a decent Camaro casting, so we'll take a look at that. 69 Chevrolet Camaro. It's kind of like a Yenko stripe. And who knows if this car is a real Yenko or not. It's the Detroit Speed Series. This is only Series 2. But these have been quite popular. These cars are based off of vehicles that have been on television. So let's take a look. It's supposed to be Dave Tucker's car. I haven't seen this. There's so many now. You know, they only used to be on TV. Just a few. If you go back a long time, if you're from the States, or maybe you might have got it overseas, you know, you always have the car shows on the weekend. Watch those all the time, wrenching on stuff. Kind of in the 90s they became more popular. Take a look at this thing, black with gold. And I like the torque thrust wheels that they painted matching. Not a thick tire. This Camaro casting is not from the olden days where they had the big tires to originally use. It's more recent. Base is a little bit crooked from what I'm looking at here. Let's get up on it real quick. There we go. Let's see what we get. This car's been out. I've looked at it a little bit. Yeah, I didn't adjust anything yet. I don't know if the base is crooked. The exhaust seems to line up fine with the rear roll pan there. It looks good. But sometimes they drill the holes or they have flashing. So the holes are big on Greenlight to begin with. They allow a lot of movement. In general, some of them have tighter axle holes, but some of the castings like this, pretty bad. So yeah, it looks like there's just some flashing up in there. Decent though. It does have the exhaust. It's more developed. There's less bulkiness to this. So this is what Greenlight's been doing pretty well. So a lot of the cars, I wonder if that's upside down. Doesn't look right now. Kind of girl's a little jacked up. That's supposed to be in there a little bit more. This was a 69, right? Am I looking at that right? Yeah. Yeah. So 69 car. This would have had the RS package on it, or they put an RS grill on it. These had hideaway lights. They kind of folded in and exposed the headlight underneath. So they had this. They also had an open headlight design, which I like better. But high-optioned cars would have that package. RS could come on a variety of V8s, too. This is probably a full custom car. Let's see if we can get the hood open and see what we got underneath. Very stiff hood. Looks like a big block General Motors. Looks like big block Chevy. And let's see. Get some light in there. Let's see if we go this way. Looks a little bit better. Yeah. So silver valve covers. You can see the exhaust manifolds. Low profile air cleaner. So that's a nice deep engine well. Put separate parts in there, so that's nice. Separate bumper. Very stiff hood. This is, like, see the misalignment there? That definitely needs adjustment. I'd probably drill this car apart and really fix it. It is decent. I did like the graphics, so black and gold is good with me. I'll have to get that hood and adjust it. Let's see if we can do this on camera. Yeah. You just push on it. A lot of times you'll have to get under there where it's sandwiched, where the pins are sandwiched, and kind of adjust those. Sometimes you'll have to get a small pliers and kind of just tweak them. Can't go too far with diecast. It does break quickly. And we can see our bucket seat interior. This transmission looks like a standard, so that's good. Leaf spring cars, these F-bodies. First generation, they were going to change it in 1970. So this generation car, 67 through 69, 1983 Chevrolet Silverado C10. So this is just another highlight of the issues with Greenlight's square body chassis. It's very low. I think I'm coming up with a remedy for this. I think it's going to be like the Dodge Diplomat Plymouth Fury series we've talked about. I have an example of what I'm trying to accomplish on a Ford, because the Fords, the 70 Fords, the 70s Ford's pickup trucks that Greenlight does, they also sit very low. The thing about them is they roll better than the C10s because their tires don't sit out so far. And another truck, I guess, was used on the show. This is their weathered. This is Greenlight's weathered vehicle. This is Series 2 cars. I don't think we looked at that last time, didn't we? And there's our barcode. So, same series as the Camaro. I haven't touched this truck yet, but there's ways to get around these things. Like the other truck I showed you earlier, bring the tires in. Actually, this one's been apart, so I can't show you that. Basically, we'll pop these tires off, these wheels, and then we will get into this part with sanding or a file. Let's see if we can get in on that. There we go. So, too big. These are what I call posts. That needs to come down to about there, right before the rim, so you have to give a little bit of buffer for the wheel not to rub on the fender. That way it rolls nicely. So the chassis is extremely level. Two-wheel drive trucks always sat higher in the back unloaded. That was on purpose. That's why they always are raked. Some people are annoyed and they'll kind of match the front, or they'll lower it. So this would have been actually fine. You know, if a truck looked like this, you could put a big load in this bed and it will look okay. But when it's unloaded, it's not very good. Let's just take a look at their graphics treatment. It's not as detailed as something like this that we looked at last time. You know, this is just an example. Of course, this costs a little bit more money, but Greenlight does have this down. I think they were one of the pioneers, one of the first ones. I mean, there's always been weathered cars going way back, even from olden day Diecast. Some of the companies would weather their cars. A lot of the rally cars would have like mud on them and stuff. But so for 1/64 scale, not making them showroom looking, you know, clean, and not being like a toy, like throwing mud on it like Matchbox and Hot Wheels. This is more like showing the weathering. But they've been doing it on their Hollywood series. So we saw the Nova from Beverly Hills Cop. We saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre van, those type of vehicles. And those are a few years old already. This is a little bit different. They don't do that spray, so the windows aren't dirty. So this is an interesting take on weather. This is more like a cleaned up truck that's just rusted. Greenlight does make nice rally wheels. We've looked at the difference between these and the Auto World. This would look fine, and we can just basically raise the chassis up. I've no longer tried to go the hard way of trying to adjust this area here. This would just be left alone. And this was in the thumbnail. We looked at this truck before. You can see the ride height's a lot better. We know that the stock ones sit real low. We'll get I have that brown one, I guess, we can look at, that we looked at earlier. It's been a minute since I put it up here. But as we can see, we know what most of the Fords sit pretty low. Now they roll nicely just because the fenders are large. But that really is not stock, and it's not looking right. So now, for a two-wheel drive, I think that looks a little bit better. See if we can get a better look at it. So I just raised the profile there slightly. You can see how much gap is there, and we can probably fill that in later. Left that alone. Drilled it out, and then just made risers on the tailgate there. Under the tailgate, I mean under the bed. It's a little exposed. I think I could lower it just a little bit more just to tuck this part in. What I'm talking about is this gap here. We can see it. That would actually be submerged under here if I just profile it down. But looking at this clearance from here to here, we want to, you know, maintain that gap. I also racked my brain with changing tires, but when you had these low output, light duty, full size trucks, the F100s, F150s, they did have very small tires when they were the two-wheel drive version. So I think that looks pretty good. And I'm going to leave it that way. And we looked at this casting before. It's kind of deteriorated from when they first were produced. And I think I had a yellow one out, but you can see how rough it's gotten. But we've looked at this before. But that's how we're going to probably proceed with these trucks if I'm not going to completely customize them. So as I see fit, I'll upgrade them. Some of them will just be left alone. This one's going to be my experiment mule for this series vehicle. I also want to do the 8-foot bed with the Auto World cab, and I think that's my next project. Auto World, I really think they should make an 8-foot bed, square body. You know, they kind of are repetitive, even though they're changing the grills, and we'll look at that in detail. I have the black one for the next series, but I really think these are decent, and they are deep. They just don't have any movement, but they're okay, and so we'll probably start doing that soon too. But we've looked at this truck before. We've talked about it. It's an 83, so it's stacked headlight like that with the mustache grill. And then our base that uses on everything. So there we go. More square body content on the channel. Feel free to look it up. It is very entertaining because we have a lot of trucks on this channel. So there we go. A little update there. And these little plastic things I've been talking about, I dug them out for everybody. So these have lasted me many years. As you could see, these are the sheets. They were 3 to a pack, and I have a very thin one, a medium stock, and a quite thick one. And we can always, basically can find any height you want to dial in, even with a small scale like this, fairly quickly. And you just use your knife or scissor after you've measured out what you want to take and just nibble it off. So I'm not making huge projects. This would go pretty quickly if I was trying to make buildings or scratch build vehicles with it, but using it for shims and making, sometimes I'll make a base or half a base with it. But other than that, you know, I've also used it for my model kits, but it's very useful stuff. It's very cheap, and it goes very quickly when you're trying to work stuff out, like this Ford, for instance, or any other stuff we looked at. Another green light we're going to look at is this. So I guess I'm starting to collect the Willys Jeep because I've been getting all of them from M2 and Greenlight. And I'm still in debate about who one makes the best. There's good points to each. I think we've talked about it last time, so you can review that. But Hitch and Tow, we're already on Series 22. This was a very popular series, and it comes with these vehicles here. So, very nice. Did we get any of these others? No, not yet. I've seen these two. I don't know about that. This one I missed it, but I should get it because I do like the wheel covers on that. They use those old school Van and the Ford wheel covers. Actually, I've put them on Crown Vic right now. So here it is. This has the top. This has the graphics, where this one was the Hollywood release with just the MASH stuff. And even though these are World War II era Jeeps, and by the time the Korean War came around, they were using these, but they also, the new generation, the second generation was around, I believe. So really more accurate would have been used the other ones. But they did, I guess they had some of these too. There was some glue that was on this tire, so unfortunately I tried trimming it with the wrong stuff, so I scuffed that a little bit. Also went through and took off some of the flashing on the tires so they roll smoothly. There wasn't a lot, but it made it pretty uncentric. It was very wobbly. It looked like a cam lobe, so we had to fix that. And these come off pretty quickly on the axles, and they straighten up fairly easily, so I just did that off camera quickly. The trailer is a masterpiece. This is the trailer that so many have been produced, and there's so many people with these in their backyards rotting away. These were the surplus trailer to get. A good little quarter-ton, half-ton trailer, I believe, something like that. And it would carry everything. Anything you can imagine. Just made the Jeep that much more utilitarian when they need an extra space. Greenlight's top just pops off. You can see they did take the time not to do this with the one that doesn't come with the top, so that's kind of cool. This is a piece of plastic that they only paint the top, the front of it, not the back, so you do get a glossy back base on there, but that's okay. Jerry can and spare. separate chassis. So metal base, metal body, but the plastic chassis. But it's still done well because there's a lot of detail, so it looks nice. You can see I might have cracked it right there on that lower hub. It's common with Greenlight. They're very thick axles and they have the knurls on them many times. And the holes aren't sometimes drilled all the way, or they're drilled very shallowly, so you'll see that even before I get involved in these, that they'll be split. It's not a big deal because when I do set up wheels and tires, I will put a dab of super glue there so they stay tight and they don't get knocked around. Right now they don't go in very deep, so these can be turned pretty wobbly fast. Has the hitch and it snaps on pretty good. I did force this in there. It was very tight. This actually is plastic. I was thinking this was metal, but this one's just like a very hard plastic, so it's kind of interesting. But that's as far as I could get it without busting it, so I think that's okay. And it does look nice with the top, so I'm very happy about this, and I'm very pleased with this casting. I think it's a very good one. Well, what are we looking for? Oh, yes. Excuse me. I don't seem to be able to get through the day without a little bit of dust entering the nose. So, here we go. This makes my nose run. Let's look at one last Greenlight before we get to the Mini GT. Those things are amazing, of course. We have a 84 C60 propane truck. What a cool truck. Got it for a great price. These sell for a lot higher typically. B&B Farm Toys exclusive. This made it around to the Diecast vendor circuit pretty well, although I'm able to get them at the fairs and things out here in the Midwest, because these are used mostly for farm layouts. So our farming diecast friends that collect that side of the business started this. Now they're going to be wide release, so the next series truck release that Greenlight's going to do, these are going to be in it, so I'm excited. So I'll be able to get these a little bit more, because the wheels and tires that come on these trucks work really well for the M2 trucks that look awful, you know, with their wheels and tires. And I've sampled these on some of them, and I'm excited to finally do some wheel swaps. So I like the medium heavy duty trucks. I got this one. They make like a white one or a red one and a black and this and that. We have the grain truck. We looked at that. This thing's just awesome. I love it. You can see the commonality. So before they changed this body in the early 90s, they were using the square body cab with some differences, but mostly basically the same thing. And then this whole clip and lower section would have been, you know, attached to the heavy frame. They moved to a van front chassis when they went to and they had a little bit shorter nose, so it was kind of funny they adopted the van. You know, they used the pickup truck forever for these trucks, and they went to the van to the end. We've got that great grill, and a lot of times try to get some, if you like Greenlight, try going for the hobby exclusive stuff. It always seems to be better quality. These trucks are very plagued by issues with when they take the tires off the flashing. A lot of issues. They are a little stiff, so a little hot water soak, and they'll come off, and then you can true them up. I also was able to take the wheels off the axles and fix all that. Very wobbly, so definitely, if you don't fix it, it's a static vehicle, because it was knocking into these fenders back here. It wouldn't even roll. So you definitely had to fix all that, but once I did, truck is back to normal. I was able to do the same thing on my grain truck, and I knew if I could do it on this one would be no problem. Just have to have patience. I do like these. Propane body's kind of interesting. It's got the construction like one. We have the reels. All plastic, unfortunately. No metal on this piece. But that's typical. I'd rather have the chassis metal, and it is. Greenlight, when they do the medium and heavy duty trucks and the chassis is plastic, it creates a lot of issues and a lot of problems, a lot of flexing. They're international Durastar trucks. They're just terrible because they're so flexy. So I'm working on one now, and I'm probably going to have to reinforce it so it doesn't sag and twist on me. The exhaust is there. Now these trucks sit crooked. That was the other thing, besides the tires, I was going to bring up. I don't think I've adjusted this one yet. I don't know if you can see it on camera. Maybe it looks a little lower on this side than this side. Well, there's a reason for that. So I took this one apart. This one's sitting fairly level now. This cab sits on this part here, which is the step, and that would hide light items. On this side, it's hiding an exhaust system and things like that, but you'd have a battery, fuel tank, etc. Things like that. Well, this caused this to sit up high, and then it pushed the cab over. So this was sitting lower. Took it apart, sanded everything smooth and flat. There was a lot of flashing there, and that will create it. You know, just a little nub like this, for instance, that I didn't have to get rid of on that side, would have adjusted everything. And you see these cars, and they're sitting like this. So I did fix that. But other than that, very nice vehicle. I very highly recommend them. I don't know how many they produced. They seem to be still for sale in certain areas. 118 on that. I don't think you'll see enormous codes. So you only have 4 places there. So you would assume less than 10,000. But who knows. Well, we've looked at that. And I've actually kind of explored this truck a little bit when we talked about it, the grain truck. So we'll kind of move on. Let's get to Mini GT. Let's look at the Porsche. It's my first Mini GT Porsche. We've gotten Lamborghini products, which is kind of funny. I got the Lambos, got the truck Lambo, the Urus, and I have the other Huracan. Now I got the other. I like their magic colors that they do that are color shift colors. I think they're neat. So I'm gonna get the M4 next. I think here is the new 8th generation 911. This is a 992 car. This is a Carrera S, a little bit bumped up from the Carrera. Turbos, so a twin turbo 6-cylinder, flat 6, water cooled. Let's take a look at it. It's a US exclusive one. You can get these cars early. What happens is they have the international release first, and they usually just a box and cellophane, and then of course we get it with the clamshell, the box, and a little bit more artwork on the vehicle. But we've looked at this. They do include, it's not just a box. They have the matching plastic insert, so it'll enclose this vehicle so it doesn't rattle around and rub and break the mirrors off, etc. Let's take a look. So 2019, late 2018, this bowed as a 19 model. So the current generation Porsche. Mini GT did a great job on this, like they do mostly. I saw a couple of quality control issues, though. We'll pick at them out real quick. I saw a little bit more casting lines this time. There. A couple of nicks there. Windows are clear. And they're flush. So, I mean, it looks really good. Exhaust tips. I always looked at this one, this casting in particular, and I just marveled at the rear of the vehicle. Just because how clean it is. I mean, look at the separation there and how close it is. So just like the real car, our tire tread, you can see. I mean, just amazing. Their third brake light's cool. I've seen these cars in real life. Very nice looking car. A wider car, a little bit lighter. It's more aluminums they use in this vehicle. A little bit more horsepower. It's got a great dashboard. It's got a more of a the center stack. The center console comes up higher, and it's more dramatic interior. There was kind of Porsche interiors are Spartan, but that was on purpose. It was a driver's car. A little bit more luxury looking. A little bit more space, which is needed. It has a lot of competition now. The front end's good because they have the painted portion of the car, but they also put this separate insert here. Let's take a look. So that gives it a lot of fidelity and dimension. A lot of times companies will just cast this all into the body, but having this as a separate insert like the real vehicle just makes it that much better. It just looks amazing. It's hard to see because it's black. You know, there's our intakes there and our cooling passages. Metal base, metal car, rubber tires. We don't have the issue where the the big tires are on some of these, like Auto World does. That drives me nuts. The other issue with this car was this had a severe. It was out of round. I don't know if it was this side or the other, but there was some flash inside the hole where the axle goes, and this tire was going up and down like a, I don't know, like a seesaw, I guess. So there's some of it left. I think it's still. I think I moved it to this side. You'll see it kind of come up and down. But most of it got out. So usually I don't have to adjust the cars, mini GT cars, for rolling whatsoever. Sometimes the back spacing's off. The Porsche is really good, but we'll see on the Audis in a minute that it's not perfect. I'm going to probably fix that. But I wanted to show everyone what the cars look like, of course, when you purchase them. So, awesome car. Everything is all there. I don't have too many Porsches. I usually get the Hot Wheels Porsches. I just like the way they look, but I'm not averse to getting something really clean. I know there's a lot of RWB stuff and Liberty Walk, but I like stock looking stuff, and I think this is the new generation. The 8th gen is just a gorgeous car, so kudos. And I think that's probably why I wanted it. I didn't like the old gen that as much as this one. I think this one is so simple. It's kind of like the old 60s cars. Okay, let's go to Lambo, and then we'll do the Audis to finish our journey today. So this is Magic Bronze. I was trying to figure the color out. Magic Bronze. Look at this thing. Liberty Walk car. Different than the other one. You know, the body kits on these things are so outrageous, you kind of blend into each other. So I had to reference them when this car came in the mail, what it was like. So, MiJo car. And then here we go there. And then this was branded USA exclusive, but I think all of them are like that. There's our box. Really cool boxes. The simple stock boxes, though, like the regular cars, like the Evo Benz and all that stuff. I just love them. So this car slipped out of my hands, and lo and behold, it chipped it, which was weird because it landed on paper and stuff. But I think it hit another car, so that was me. Very weird. It was very odd. It almost feels like the paint wasn't done curing or something. Chipped right off. The other thing about this car, everything else was fine, but it felt like when it rolled, it was missing a support under one of the axles on, I think, the driver's side. So I did take the car apart. For a minute, it perplexed me, but I figured it out. It is similarly the same car, even though they make differences than the old one I had to look at. So under this splash shield, this rear diffuser is the other screw. What I did, though, is I took this screw off, and I thought maybe they just used a tab, because we've seen all 164 scares where they use one and they slip a tab under and you just pull it out. Well, it wasn't the case, so I got it a little loose, though, but it's very fine thread and soft metal, so you can actually pry the threads out one time and then cake this off. I wanted to take the chassis off before trying to take the diffuser off because it's easy to break, and I did it carefully. So here's our base, but look at this car. I was able to fix it, by the way. It was just a misaligned piece that was part of the axle support. It kind of got bent when they threw the car together, so I bended it back and it was ready to rock. So probably won't happen on yours. I think that was a fluke. Who knows how many they make. Very golden right now, but it turns to a very deep bronze, almost to like well, brown, really. Let's take a look. We have the Liberty Walk on the windshield. We have our Lamborghini insignia. Looks very good. And then our contrasting bumper here, or the front lip. So we got nice painted area here. Good black division line for the air intake. They make sure that the LED lighting is represented. It's not just some blank thing. The very, very small Liberty Walk stuff there. Look at that. Imagine all the people living in peace. Well, how about that? That's pretty cool. And your weather stripping on the windows and the painted side mirrors, even though they're soft. All that attention to detail. And this is under magnification, and we're still being able to see all the tampos and everything. Very tiny car. You can see how big my fingers are. And if you want to see my magic green one, you know, so they're completely different metal casting. As you can see, the body kit's completely different. This one's a little bit more aggressive. Who knows if it's faster? A lot of times their cars are just like this, just to look real crazier. Full carbon roof. And, you know, I didn't really notice this the first time, but they actually blackwashed the door gap there. So that's like what you do when you build model cars. So it's pretty cool. They're doing darkening that. So very nice. It rolls perfect, of course. And I do like cars without the spoiler. Ducktail spoilers are my favorite. So I think this car is a little bit more in my speed. I got this one's awesome though because of the color, and it is aggressive. I mean, it's awesome. It looks like the Bugatti style spoiler setup. You can see it's a little bit more chill back there on the gold one than it is here. This one's outrageous on there. It's got a lot of diffusers. Yeah, it'd be fun. V10 car, very high horsepower, all-wheel drive, and of course we know that good technology is in place on these cars because they're owned by VW Audi Group. So, very cool. All right, let's get to Audi, actually, believe it or not. We're going to look at these cars. Wagons are some of my favorite vehicles besides the trucks, and we got some good ones. This is the current generation, so another 19 and newer car, 18 or 19. RS6 Avant. This is a amazing car. Two versions. We got the regular one and then the black series. Let's take a look at these things. Look how crazy that looks. Look how gorgeous. So you have the silver accents on this car with the, you can see the Audi rings. Another exclusive. This car came both ways too. They had an international release with the cellophane package. Both of them the same. We got the ice blue and red. So fire and ice. Limit of 1,800. Some of these are still for sale on eBay for decent prices. I think that's where I got mine from. It's definitely not something you're going to walk into the store for. Get in. And these are some of my most anticipated releases. I know a lot of people, the next round of Mini GT that's coming out, like the first gen Miata and all that, getting people crazy, but I think these are amazing. I really probably should get one more red one. I don't think I need another blue one, but I think a red one carded would be good to have for me anyway. It's the black series, and the wheels are set up on that one. I think that looks a little bit better. I've seen a few of these cars drive around town, so they are gaining traction. We lost the car for a couple of generations, or a generation or so. And here in North America, it was sold overseas, and we didn't get it. And then we got these back, so very excited. Twin turbo, 8-cylinder. So direct fuel injection, very high horsepower. It's just under 600, so 500 something or 400, up to 5, somewhere in there. 2 to 3 seconds, 0 to 60 time. Automatics only, I believe. Very, very nice car. All-wheel drive. You can do up to 75% in the front of torque or 80% in the rear. And so it can switch around pretty aggressively on this car. A lot of them are limited to 50% or just over. So pretty good, strong all-wheel drive system, of course. Some of the best in the business, really. Well, we'll compare them. Cars are very expensive too, but they're worth it. These cars hold their value too pretty well. I do like the way the wheels are done on the black. Same wheels, just painted differently. But you could see Mini GT just flexing their muscle. I mean, not only to be able to do the car's bodies, but they're actually doing the wheels perfectly as well. No flaws whatsoever. This car has survived a few times of pocket duty. No issues. This is molded as part of the casting. The shark fin antenna. Look how crisp that is. Only one blemish. And this came out of the package this way. There was a paint bubble. And a lot of times, or a piece of dust that gets under the clear or into the paint. Usually you can kind of pick that off. This one took the whole paint off. So the bonding agent, the paint that they use, the way they prep the bodies, maybe they're, unless they're cured for years, it seems to be coming off. Just an amazing car. Other people have looked at it. Black Series here. You can see the rings are black. Everything's black. Blacked out wheels. Trim. Mirrors. And then the rear diffuser. Whereas this is the standard. Where you can see the silver trim. Deep blue. Silver trim. No silver trim. So I can see the difference. Some people do like the little bit luxury feel. Completely black though. I mean, as you can see, that's all silver where that's black. So it is nice to have both versions actually. I was looking at the interior. You can see right there, it's probably the heads-up display prism thing, or the mirror for the projector. It's kind of cool. Really, really nice. They don't paint the interiors, it's all straight black plastic. There's not much in there. I think the cars did have different colors available, or they had a lot of crazy trim pieces in there, so you can go in there and unscrew it and probably detail that if you wish. I'm assuming there's a screw under the exhaust, but maybe not. Maybe it just unhinges, who knows. I'm not going to take these cars apart. The one thing I will do is the back space on the wheels. It comes in a little bit too much, as you can see. So I kind of want to push it out slightly, thinking that looks good. So that will need an adjustment. Other than that, the car's perfect, rolls very nicely. And we'll back it out here so we can take a broad shot. And they just are fun to play with. Nice cars. It's always nice to have a wagon. Always, always, always. So we did a little overview here. We got other cars to look at coming. It's been very busy around here, unfortunately, so stay with us. But if you're striving for other content, we got stuff on Instagram. I'm going to try to put some more stuff up on there so you'll see maybe what's coming on video soon. And we do have other scales, too, to talk about. We're going to do Auto World and probably Johnny Lightning Racing Champion vehicles. I'm going to get to M2 and maybe a Maestro car, which kind of cool. We'll see. We'll see. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it, and I do. I love my cars. Of course, can't always have them 24 hours a day. You always got to do other things like family and work, but I know that works. But they're always here waiting for me, and we always have a good time together. So, hope you all enjoyed it. More to come. Thank you all for watching and all your great comments. I appreciate it. Till next time.